This is Roxanne Castelli,
And Jill Edwards.
and this is our lesson 3 of 5 on plant life for our science unit for second graders.
The program model and background that we are working within is the dual language second grade classroom that is learning English and Mandarin. Out of the 28 students, 18 are English language learners. All students share the same home language of Mandarin. 12 of these students are at the expanding level, 5 of the students are at the commanding level, and 1 student is at the emergent level. The lesson content and rationale that we used for this lesson was to make the content comprehensible through different modalities with a specific focus on our language objective, which is in the discourse competence. We've used the smartboard, foldable charts, vocabulary word wall, and a hands-on exploration center to make the content as relatable to the students and accessible to them as well. We've made sure to provide differentiated and scaffolded instruction to those learners who are still developing their language skills and those who need specialized instruction. Throughout our lesson, we will be observing and analyzing the students' strengths and areas that need further development and using formative assessment to guide our instruction. Making the content comprehensible. In order to make the content of our lesson comprehensible, we've decided to use a variety of supplementary materials to aid in students' learning. Pictures, photos, visuals, demonstrations which are modeled step by step, translations of vocabulary terms, and hands-on manipulatives were all used to aid in student learning. We also will be paying close attention to use appropriate speech and to be using a scaffolded approach to help our students best understand the material. Some of our vocabulary within our vocabulary terms was a little bit advanced, so we've decided to use some paraphrasing to give student-friendly definitions to words that might be uncommon for some learners. These are the content standards that we used when writing our lesson, and we made sure to refer to science standards as well as the TESOL and WIDA standards here.
Our content objective. As a result of this lesson, students will be able to identify and label the parts of a plant. Our language objective is, as a result of this lesson, students will be able to use oral language to compare different parts of a plant. This is our discourse competence. The parts of a plant. In this lesson, we will be looking at the following key vocabulary. We're going to introduce just a few new vocabulary words: leaf and leaves, roots, stem, minerals, and carbon dioxide. However, we do a review and we will have posted and continue to have our poster from the vocabulary of lesson 1 and the vocabulary of lesson 2, and some things will overlap. Flower, for example, was introduced in a previous lesson and will be used again in this lesson. So we start out with a warm-up activity. We're located with our students, a full class, on a meeting area rug for a listening modality. Today, we're going to be looking closely at the parts of a plant and the job or function that each plant does. Let's listen to a little short story called Seeds by Gail Saunders Smith. Turn to your partner and discuss with them what you know about the different parts of plants. Students discuss with each other and then share what they notice with the teacher and the class. The read aloud is, new plants come from seeds. A new plant grows roots. Roots grow down. The new plant grows a stem. The stem grows up through the soil. The stem grows into a flower. Then we begin with activity 1. We have an image that has different areas that can be labeled, but they're not labeled in our original first image. It will be projected on the smartboard. We'll ask the students what they see and notice about this diagram. Students will write down their responses on the chart, image B, which is a notice and wonder chart, what I notice and what I wonder. The students then will discuss their perspective with a partner and share with the class. Think about colors, shapes, texture, sizes. We'll encourage them and we'll prompt them in that way.
Activity 2. This is the part of the lesson where we will be introducing the key vocabulary terms for this specific lesson. As you can see in the picture, we will be focusing on the parts of the plant, which are the flower, the leaf and leaves, the stem, and the roots. We'll be sure to speak in a clear voice, going slowly through each definition, and then we will have the students orally repeat the definition as a class. These vocabulary terms will be put on tents, which we have used in our previous lessons, so the students will be familiar with them. We will place them on a large picture of a plant, and the students can refer to them throughout the rest of the unit. These terms will also be translated in Mandarin for those students who find that to support their vocabulary development. Each vocabulary term will be read aloud, including the vocabulary terms which you can see in the green box to the right. And we will be paying close attention to the words minerals, carbon dioxide, and leaves. And the reason that we've chosen to put these words underneath the diagram is because they are part of the definitions of the vocabulary terms, and the students need to know what they are. So we've used some paraphrasing here to keep the content comprehensible. So as you can see, what are minerals? Minerals are parts of the earth that are found in the ground that help plants grow. This we found to be the most student-friendly definition and therefore the most understandable. Also for carbon dioxide is a gas that plants and other things need to live. We've also starred the word leaves because there can be some confusion between leaf and leaves, and we want the student to know and focus on that leaves mean more than one leaf. So this is a continuation of activity 2, and this is where we will be taking the terms away from the plant image, and we will have the students come up and actually label the plant themselves. We find that when learners actively engage and are involved in tasks that challenge them, it begins to grow their confidence in doing these tasks independently. We also think that promoting student engagement through supplementary materials and meaningful activities can help with interaction and language practice.
The following activity will be independent, where students are going to go back to their seat. It's a foldable activity. We will model that for them at the rug area before they head back to their seat to begin. On the right-hand side, there's a teacher model of the foldable, but we decided to create sort of a framework for the students where it says student copy so that the scale of the flower would fit on the page and they would be able to label it in a way that is appropriate across the foldable. The activity is meant to reinforce students' ability to label the parts of a plant to the corresponding visual. They'll write the meaning of each word next to it. The foldable acts as a student-made graphic organizer. It'll help them throughout the unit. They'll be able to keep it, and it invites them to do further investigation with the teacher and their peers. The next part of Activity 3 is we're going to use a Science Exploration Center. As students are working on their foldable, we're going to call small groups up one at a time to our little Science Center area. The students are familiar with this idea of having a separate area and being called separately into small groups. This group will be a place where students are given an opportunity to interact with the visuals. Real plants, seeds, plants, soil, flowers will all be available. They'll have hand lenses. They'll be able to touch, look, and very importantly, talk about what they see and feel and observe in that center, like real scientists. The teacher will model how to use specific sentence frames to orally compare the parts of a plant. Because our language objective relates to the discourse competence, we want to make sure that they can express their opinions using sentence frames to create their oral answers. You can see them on the chart on the side. I think because, I think something because, I think both things are, as we do a comparison, I think things are similar and different because.
So in our review, what we'd like to do is have the students come back to the meeting area with their completed foldable. In order to review the lesson objective, the teacher will ask the students to name the parts of the plant as he or she points to the word wall. The terms will be up, so there will be no trick to this, other than the students have to identify the word and correctly label with their peers what that part is. The teachers will then collect the foldable as to assess if the students were able to label the parts correctly. This will serve as our formative assessment on our content objective, which was to label the parts of the plants and the corresponding definition. In order to review the language objective of this lesson, the teacher will be asking students to compare two different parts of the plants within the group. We'll also reference to the sentence frames that are in the center to help them, and we can also give them an example. So we can say, today we learned about the different parts of a plant. We were able to look at and touch some real plants and seeds. Let's think about how a flower is different from a stem. Then we'll ask the students and they can discuss with their peers. So just in closing, when we were discussing plant life and the parts of a plant, we really wanted to pay close attention to using hands-on activities and allowing the students to explore kinesthetically with the materials. So to make the science information comprehensible, we included a variety of activities that incorporated listening, writing, speaking, drawing, exploration, and tactile tasks using the senses. We know that English language learners thrive when the expectations are understood and explicitly taught. We've made careful considerations to focus on both our content and language objectives so that our ELL students can succeed and enjoy the topic as much as we did. Thank you very much.